Hi, I'm Jack Spirko. I'm from Azle, Texas, which is north of Fort Worth. I run a website called the survivalpodcast.com that's dedicated to self-sufficiency, self-reliance, and individual liberty. And we've incorporated a lot of permaculture principles into what we teach people. In fact, I actually believe permaculture is one of the main paths towards self-sufficiency and certainly one of the most liberating things for humanity that's out there.
Great. So what would you say has made the Survival podcast and the other work you're doing so successful?
I think it's really about the community that's built up around it. Joel Salatin mentioned yesterday in his speech that if you do good things in your business, that sometimes your customers will actually be more concerned about your success than you are. I think that's a big part of what our success has been. The Survival podcast is, a podcast, obviously. It's a show I do 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. I actually started the show in my car back in 2008. We just recorded our 1330 odd episode. And it's really kind of phenomenal that it's been as successful as it has. But the show has blossomed into like a series of communities. We have a forum that has over 10,000 members on it. We have a Zello channel, which is like a two-way radio channel where people help each other out. It's kind of like CB across your smartphone, but you set up your own channel for it. And that channel's become so active that the CEO of Zello is actually talking to our community about making his product better. We're the most active channel on the entire Zello network. And those two communities in and of themselves almost have a life essence all to their own, and they feed back into the podcast, the show, the blog, and the blog feeds back into them, but they almost exist as separate business units. And it's that type of community involvement and interaction that's really made us successful. Before I did this, I was in media and production and marketing. And it was very early on into the onset of social media really starting to take off. And I actually have now the types of things I struggled to do for clients, back when I was running a business doing this, and it all happened naturally. It's almost as if you actually do the right thing, people will take on some of the responsibility for promoting you. And we've really had a lot of success because of that. And then I think it's because I talk about things I know about and I'm passionate about. And if I don't know about something, I bring in a subject matter expert. And 6 years of doing this almost now, we've gotten to a point where we've covered just about everything. We've become really, really good at informing and educating people and entertaining people. And they just seem to keep coming back for more because, well, I think it's because we really care about what we're doing and we care about the audience as well. We're up to a point now where we have about 90,000 people a day tuning into the show.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. So you say you started in your car and now you're here with 90,000 listeners a day.
A day, yeah.
And you've done that through fostering these customer connections and that kind of thing. What did it look like in between that? Like, how did that, taking care of the people that now take care of you, how did that start?
It's really kind of something unique about it that it almost sounds ridiculous when you look at how it all happened. So I had a client that actually wanted to do a podcast, and I had a web developer that's like, I can build the site for you, but I don't know anything about how to do the RSS feeds and all. So I'm like, you know what? We already bid the job and got it, so we have to do it now. So I'll set up a podcast and I'll learn how to do all the podcasting things so that we can deliver that side of it. So I was like, I might as well do something I know about. So I started doing a show on self-sufficiency and self-reliance. And within that first week, it was clear that even though there was like a couple dozen people listening, that we were onto something. And basically I said, if you guys will come along on the ride for me, I'll take this to something that can be a full-time show. I'll make it better. And I asked the audience to help. And I said, if we had 1,000 listeners by the end of the first year, that I would give away an iPod with kind of one of our little slogans on it, be an ant, not a grasshopper. And we hit 2,000 at the end of the first year. And it just kind of took off from there. And it's been amazing. I have one of my microphone that I use today was given to me by a listener, and because he wanted me to have better audio quality. We have professional microphones, really high-end professional microphones we do our video with now that was actually given to us by a Hollywood video producer because he was a listener to the show for 3 years, and he's like, I want your videos to be better. So it's almost hard to explain how stuff like that happens. If you said, how do I make my business do these types of things? I'd say, do good stuff and be good at what you do. And when you make a commitment to your audience or when you make a commitment to your customers, meet it and exceed it. I think that's what's really, bought us a lot of loyalty and a lot of social capital.
What are any of the challenges that you faced along the way of growing this?
We did face an awful lot of challenges along the way in growing a show like this. In some ways it seemed easy, but On the other hand, you know, when I started this show, I was actually in corporate America running a company, actually running several companies as a partner. And so I would have to get up very early in the morning and actually do my outline for my show. And then I would, you know, drive to work and record it. That provided all kinds of complications because with a podcast, people are expecting things like guests and call-ins and stuff. And obviously in a car, you're not going to do that. So that was a challenge, kind of living two lives for a while. It was challenging on my home life. My wife was already dealing with a guy that was working 60, 70 hours a week. And now, gee, I'm just going to add a complete new business and enterprise onto what I'm doing. That was a challenge. We moved a couple times during this in an effort to get into a piece of land that was a better piece of land for what we were doing. And it didn't completely work out the first time around, so we had to move again and restart a new property. You know, as far as the challenges in the business itself, I have to say it's the easiest thing I've ever done as far as not having things go off the rails. It was a lot of hard work, and it still is, but there really wasn't any point at which we ever were kind of like tested with whether or not we were going to make it. I think it's partly because of how I eased into it, coming from taking it on where I had a good income and I took it as a part-time business and built it up till it had enough of a revenue stream to comfortably support us. And then when we went full-time with it, we were able to really turn things on. So the challenges were more social challenges within my life than actual business challenges. It's not been the same in other businesses. I think when you really do what you love, maybe you just sometimes don't even notice the challenges because you just walk right over them.
Right. So, and does the same apply? You said you do educational things as well. Is that primarily in the podcast, or you're teaching courses and that kind of thing as well?
So with our educational efforts, obviously the entire show is an ongoing education. People tell me they feel like they're getting a PhD in preparedness, a PhD in energy, a PhD in permaculture, just from listening to the show. But we actually expanded when we moved to our most recent property to where we're doing workshops. We're about to run our 5th workshop. We've done workshops on hugelkultur and contour gardening. We've done them on building backup battery systems. We've done them on urban permaculture design. We're about to do one on food forest establishment planting. We're probably going to run one in the fall on what I'm calling clump design, which is designing down to the individual polyculture guilds within a system. I'm kind of a passionate teacher at heart, so really everything that we do is educational. And I think that if you build an educational concern the right way, your customers should actually be educating each other. And that's what we have in the forum. The forum is this massive amount of information. We recently launched a TSP Wiki, which is like Wikipedia for preparedness. And it's really an awesome thing that's being built by the community. And then the Zello channel, as I've mentioned before. I mean, that's just constantly people educating each other. So if you're really a good teacher, your students should begin teaching very quickly after you've taught them. And when they start teaching each other and combining resources, it's really something special.
Is there anything you would do differently if you could?
So, you know, one of the things that always comes up then when you say I wouldn't have done anything different is, well, does that mean you got it perfect the first time around? And the answer is absolutely not. My audio was terrible. I was probably rude to people occasionally on the blog by being myself, but I've always tried to be myself. I certainly have typos in my notes even today, but at the time I was rushing things. And the reality is, if I had tried to make the Survival Podcast like a professional, high-quality, radio-level program, even to the level that it is today where there's still flaws, it would have never happened. There would be no Survival Podcast if we tried to make things perfect. And in the podcasting community in general, I find there's a lot of people that they pride themselves as audio snobs and things like that. And because of that, they're turning out a show a week or 2 shows a month. And they're going, well, why can't we find the success that you found? Well, I don't know. I'm doing a show a day. I'm putting out, 22, 23 shows a month. So if you're putting out 1 show a month and I'm putting out 22, I've got 22 times the amount of things going out. And yeah, maybe you'll complain about some scratch in my audio or road noise back when I was in the car or something like that. But the fact that the information's going out, reaching people and getting them engaged is way more important than perfection. And people in, doing landscape design, permaculture design, or any business, honestly, could learn a lot from that. You adjust on the move. You make mistakes so that you can correct them. And if you don't have the courage to do that, great things that could happen for you never will.
having multiple revenue models, a well-defined mission, those kinds of things, what does that look like for you in your experience, and is there any advice that you could provide for people that are looking to do something similar?
So when people ask me about success in business, I always come down to two things you've got to have is a well-defined mission statement for your business and a well-defined revenue model. And in your revenue model, if it's well-defined and it's well thought out and it's resilient, there's going to be multiple streams of revenue. So with that in mind, when I look at my podcast and how we did that, we came out with a very simple mission statement to deliver very high quality. And when I say quality, I mean the quality of the information, again, not the quality of the audio, you know, how well the audio quality was perceived, but high quality, accurate information that was educational, informative, and entertaining that would lead people toward a lifestyle built on self-sufficiency, self-reliance, independence, and liberty. And then when I did that, I decided that for 6 months, I wouldn't take a dime out of it. If people tried to give me money, I would give it back. If people tried to buy something from me, I would refuse. That I would earn their confidence over that 6-month period, because frankly, I didn't need the money, and that let me free to actually build the show the way that it was supposed to be built. When we went to do a revenue model, I had a lot of people at that point going, I want you to be successful, and people actually offering to donate money because I said I wouldn't take it, which is ironic that when you won't take donations, they show up. But I'm like, you can't build a business on donations. So the first thing I did was I launched a sponsorship program. And I did a very unique sponsorship program. I had built this forum, I had these moderators that I trusted, and I made them my listener ad council. And I said that anybody that came forward that wanted to be a sponsor, I would turn over to the moderators. They would get 2 days to tear them apart with research. And if more than 2 moderators voted down, I couldn't take the sponsor. So I actually took the ability to take a sponsor out of my hands and put it into the hands of my moderators. And that brought confidence and also sold out all our advertising like in the first 3 months because it was unique and people wanted to be part of it. The next revenue model that we put into the show was a members program where members would get additional content and discounts. I started with our sponsors. I got them discounts there. And then I had plenty of people coming in going, I want to sponsor the show. And I'm going, well, I got a 3-year waiting list, right? And I don't think that's going to open anytime soon. How would you like access to my best customers that financially support the show and have a verified way to buy things online? Well, the answer to that is yes, please. So I launched this program, and if you think of like AAA and all the discounts they offer, imagine if they were actually discounts that actually really were unique. That when you called your hotel and said, yes, I'd like a discount, and they say, well, we already gave you a better discount than the AAA discount. That, you know, these were real, genuine discounts. So I work with small companies, family-owned companies that I can help, and we put this discount program in, we put a bunch of ebooks in, we put a bunch of members-only video content in, and we sell that for $50 a year per member, and we do a discount for service folks, military, law enforcement, Peace Corps, and first responders like firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics all get a discount in our member support brigade, and those are our 2 primary sources of revenue. And then when I do speaking engagements or consulting, obviously those are other sources of revenue. We've been offered affiliate streams of income many times, and we've actually turned them down because the members program is designed to give a discount. So anybody that comes to me and says, we'll give you a commission to sell something, I always push it back on them and say, well, give that discount to my members. So instead of having multiple streams of income in, you know, like 6 or 7 streams of income into the business, what we've actually done is by spreading our customer base in small volume sales over thousands and thousands of customers. If we lose a couple customers today, well, I'm sorry they're gone, but it really doesn't affect us financially at all because we've mitigated our risk across a large customer base.
Are there any opportunities that you see in permaculture, in what you've been doing with the Survival podcast, for people looking to get into the permaculture business or launch their own permaculture career that are currently not being filled?
So what are some of the biggest opportunities in permaculture for people that want to turn it into a business, and specifically ones that maybe are not being really filled or addressed right now? I think education is got a lot of really great products in it, but it's an underserved market because everybody's selling generalist information, PDCs, earthworks courses, soil courses, things like this. I think if I was going to go into this as a consultant and I wanted to make education one of my revenue streams, I would start developing educational programs specific to my region, and I would focus on my neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods. I would focus on teaching people how to design systems and put the plants in that will do well in our neighborhood or wherever I'm at least at the state level. Right in line with that, I would say then there's also a need to figure out what works there. And there's a tremendous opportunity for like backyard nurseries and things like that for small people that actually want to develop these plants, do the work, do the breeding projects, just in the development of fruits. What can be done with, quickly growing fruits from seed, controlled cross-pollination and grafting. This is how we developed all these types of fruits, but now it's the work of universities. Well, it used to be done by a head gardener at a manor house in a backyard in England in a 3-acre walled garden. There's no reason that can't be done right in the backyard of somebody in suburbia today. Small businesses have tremendous opportunities just to earn a little extra money, kind of to get your start. Selling eggs to neighbors. We give away our eggs to our neighbors, and they try to pay us for them. And I'd say if you want to start an egg business, start doing little 6-packs of eggs, give eggs away a few times, and I guarantee you're going to have those neighbors come back to you and say they want to buy eggs. Seeds, there's a tremendous opportunity in seeds if you get into regional breeding, developing specific strains. If I was going to try to do that, I might do something like plant a particular early variety of corn, but plant it 2 weeks earlier than I'm supposed to, and let whatever dies. And whatever survives, I'm going to save that. I'm going to plant that again in another season. You do that for a season or two, you end up with an early variety of corn that can go in the ground a week or two earlier than everything else around you. Now that is a very, very valuable commodity to people that want to grow corn in your area. I'm not saying to go in the corn business, I'm just using it as an example. Yeah. There are so many opportunities, it's literally incomprehensible to say, well, where should I start? I think what people really should do with permaculture is find the aspects of it that you really love and practice it, do it, and out of that you will find a revenue model. You will find an opportunity. You will find a market. When I started doing TSP, initially it wasn't really for the purpose of making it into a business, but I loved it, and within a month, I knew the direction we were gonna go, and then the pieces of it came together for me. I think that's true in any business, and I think that permaculture is a doing business. You need to get in the business of doing things. Build hugel mounts, build gardens, do mini earthworks if you don't have the capacity where you're at in the land to be doing large-scale earthworks with earth-moving machines. Do a little bit of all of it and find your niche. Find the thing you love and do that.